Two neighbors, same street, same approximate age. Both have been working hard for 20 years. The first one has a net worth of $400,000, a decent retirement account, a home with equity, some savings. He earned every dollar of it the conventional way: salary, taxes, savings from what was left. He paid 30% or more in federal and state income tax on every dollar he ever made. He watched his paycheck shrink before he ever touched it. He built something real but slowly and expensively. The second neighbor has a net worth of $4.2 million. Same city, same general career arc. She did not inherit money. She did not build a tech unicorn. She did not win anything. What she did differently is understand something about the American tax code that almost nobody teaches, that most financial advisors barely discuss, and that the second you understand it clearly will make you look at every dollar you earn and every asset you own in a fundamentally different way. She stopped thinking about income, and she started thinking about assets. My name is Zik, and today I want to walk you through the exact step-by-step mechanics of the buy, borrow, die strategy, not as a concept, but as a practical framework you can begin orienting your financial decisions around right now, regardless of your current net worth. Because here is the truth: the system was built to reward a specific set of behaviors. And the moment you understand what those behaviors are, you stop fighting the tax code and start using it exactly the way it was designed to be used. Before the steps, I need to give you the foundational insight that makes everything else in this conversation make sense. In the United States, there are two fundamentally different types of money. There is money you earn: wages, salary, business income, dividends, capital gains from selling assets. Every dollar of this money is taxable. The government sees it the moment it arrives and takes its share before you make a single decision about what to do with it. And then there is money you borrow: loan proceeds, a line of credit, a cash out refinance. This money is not taxable, not because of a loophole, not because of clever accounting, but because the tax code explicitly does not classify borrowed money as income on the grounds that you are technically required to repay it. Hold that distinction clearly. Earned money is taxed. Borrowed money is not. Now add the third element: assets that appreciate in value without generating taxable income until you sell them. A stock that goes from $10 to $100 has generated $90 of gain, but as long as you do not sell, you owe zero tax. The government has a name for this: unrealized gain. And unrealized gains are invisible to the IRS for as long as they remain unrealized. Put these three elements together and you see the architecture of buy, borrow, die. You buy assets that appreciate. You borrow against them instead of selling. You pay no tax on the appreciation because you never triggered it by selling. You pay no tax on the loan proceeds because borrowed money is not income. And when you die, the tax code resets the cost basis of your assets to their current market value, erasing permanently all the accumulated gain that built up during your lifetime. The wealthy did not discover a secret. They simply understood the system better than everyone else and structured their financial lives accordingly. Now, let us go through the strategy step by step. Step 1, buy the right assets specifically. Assets that appreciate and that lenders will accept as collateral. Not every asset works for this strategy. The asset must do two things simultaneously. It must grow in value over time, and it must be something a lender is willing to lend against. Real estate is the most intuitive example. Suppose you buy an investment property for $500,000. You manage it carefully. The rental income covers the expenses, and the property appreciates at 4 to 5% annually, a conservative figure for most established markets. After 10 years, the property is worth approximately $800,000. You have gained $300,000 in value, and you have paid zero tax on that gain because you never sold the property. The appreciation is entirely unrealized. Equities in a brokerage account work the same way. A diversified portfolio of index funds tracking the S&P 500 has returned an average of approximately 10% annually over the long term. A $100,000 portfolio growing at 8% for 10 years becomes approximately $215,000. None of that growth triggers a tax event as long as you do not sell. The gain accumulates, compounds, and waits entirely legally and entirely untaxed until the moment you convert it to realized income. Cash value life insurance represents a third vehicle. Certain permanent life insurance policies build a cash value component that grows tax deferred and can be borrowed against under highly favorable terms, a characteristic we will address more specifically in a moment. The selection criteria for buy, borrow, die assets are straightforward. Is it appreciated? Will a lender accept it as collateral? If both answers are yes, it qualifies. The specific vehicle matters less than the discipline of acquiring it, holding it, and never triggering a taxable event through sale. Step 2. Let the assets grow and resist every impulse to sell. This is the step that sounds passive but is psychologically the most demanding. Because the moment your assets have grown substantially, you will feel the pull to realize that gain, to sell the property that has doubled, to lock in the stock portfolio returns after a strong year, to convert the growth to cash and spend it or reinvest it elsewhere. Every sale is a tax event. Every tax event is a permanent extraction from your compounding base. And the long-term cost of those extractions is almost never fully calculated by the people making them. Here is the concrete mathematics of that cost. You own a $100,000 stock portfolio that has grown to $250,000. You decide to sell and reinvest in something else. Depending on your tax situation, federal long-term capital gains, state taxes, net investment income taxes, you might lose 30 to 35% of that gain. The gain was $150,000. You pay $45,000 to $50,000 in taxes. Your reinvestment base is $200,000 instead of $250,000. That $50,000 difference, left to compound at 8% for 25 years, would have grown to approximately $342,000. You did not just pay $50,000 in taxes. You paid $342,000 in future wealth in exchange for the ability to reinvest sooner. The discipline of not selling is not passive. It is one of the most financially aggressive decisions available to investors. Hold the asset, let it compound, never interrupt the growth. Step 3. Borrow against your assets instead of selling them. This is where the strategy creates its most dramatic divergence from conventional financial behavior and where the mathematical advantage over the standard approach becomes impossible to ignore. You need cash, maybe for living expenses, maybe to purchase another appreciating asset, maybe to fund a business opportunity. The conventional response is to sell some of your investment portfolio to generate the cash. The buy, borrow, die response is to borrow against it instead. Here is why that distinction matters in specific dollar terms. You own $400,000 in a stock portfolio. You need $100,000. If you sell shares to generate that cash, you trigger capital gains tax on the shares sold potentially 20 to 30%, depending on your situation. You walk away with $70,000 to $80,000 in spendable cash after taxes. If instead you take a securities-backed line of credit against the portfolio, a product offered by virtually every major brokerage, you borrow $100,000. That money arrives in your account. It is not income. It is not taxed. You have the full $100,000 in spendable cash. Your portfolio continues sitting at $400,000, continuing to compound at whatever rate the market delivers. The shares you would have sold are still working for you. The interest on that loan currently in the range of 5 to 7% for securities-backed credit lines at most brokerages is the cost of the strategy. But that interest rate is almost always lower than the tax cost of the alternative. If selling would have cost you $25,000 in taxes and borrowing costs $10,000 in annual interest, you are net $15,000 ahead and your compounding base is completely intact. If this is building a genuinely different picture of how money can work in your financial life, take 2 seconds to hit the like button. It helps this content reach more people who need this framework. Real estate operates the same logic through different mechanics. You own an investment property worth $1.2 million that you purchased for $500,000. You have $700,000 in equity. A cash out refinance allows you to extract $300,000 of that equity as borrowed money tax-free because it is debt, not income. Depending on how those funds are used, the interest may be tax deductible as a business expense. The property continues to be appreciated, the equity continues building, and you have $300,000 in spendable cash that never generated a single dollar of tax liability. This is why sophisticated real estate investors almost never sell. They refinance, they extract equity as borrowed income, they let the properties continue appreciating, and they repeat the cycle. Step 4. Use the borrowed income to build more appreciating assets and repeat the cycle. The most powerful application of the borrowing step is not spending the loan proceeds on consumption. It is using them to acquire additional appreciating assets that can themselves be borrowed against. Here is what that latter looks like in practice. You own a stock portfolio worth $500,000. You borrow $100,000 against it at 5% interest. You use that $100,000 as a down payment on an investment property. The property generates rental income that covers the loan interest and the mortgage. The property appreciates. Within 5 years, it has gained enough equity to borrow against. You extract equity from the property and use it to add to your stock portfolio. The stock portfolio grows, you borrow against the larger portfolio, you acquire another property. Each cycle of buy, borrow, buy expands the collateral base. More assets means more borrowing capacity. More borrowing capacity means more investable capital without triggering taxes. More investable capital means faster appreciation. And the tax bill on all of it remains zero because nothing has been sold, nothing has been realized, and none of the borrowed money is classified as income. The wealthy do not think about this as one transaction. They think about it as a continuously reinforcing system where assets generate borrowing power generates assets, and the entire ecosystem compounds without interruption. Step 5. Understand the step up in basis, the mechanism that completes the cycle permanently. This is the part of the strategy that consistently surprises people when they encounter it for the first time because it closes the loop in a way that feels almost too complete to be real. When you die and your heirs inherit your assets, the cost basis of those assets, the original purchase price that determines how much taxable gain exists, resets to the current market value at the date of death. Make that concrete. You bought a property for $500,000 40 years ago. Through appreciation, it is now worth $3 million. During your lifetime, you borrowed $2 million against it in aggregate, using those proceeds as tax-free income you never sold. You never triggered the capital gains on the $2.5 million gain. When you die, your heirs inherit the property at its current value of $3 million. The cost basis is no longer $500,000, it is $3 million. If they sell it immediately at $3 million, they owe zero capital gains tax. The $2.5 million of lifetime appreciation has been permanently erased for tax purposes. They use the sale proceeds to pay off whatever loans remain against the estate. Whatever is left is theirs tax-free. The strategy has completed its cycle. The borrowing during your lifetime was tax-free income. The appreciation was never taxed. The inheritance carries no capital gains liability. The entire wealth transfer occurs without the tax event that would have been triggered at any point during your lifetime if you had sold instead of borrowed. This is not a gray area in the tax code. The step up in basis is one of the most deliberately established features of estate law in the United States. It has been specifically designed to facilitate exactly this type of intergenerational wealth transfer. And the families that understand it build wealth that compounds across generations rather than being extracted at each transfer. Let me give you the practical actions this framework suggests for where you are right now. This week, take an honest inventory of your assets. What do you currently own that appreciates or could appreciate? A home with equity, a retirement account, or brokerage portfolio? A small business with growing value. These are the seeds of the strategy, regardless of how modest they currently are. You cannot borrow against nothing, but you also cannot begin without starting somewhere. This month, if you have a portfolio of at least $50,000 in a taxable brokerage account, research what a securities-backed line of credit would look like at your brokerage. Most major brokerages offer this product under various names: portfolio, line of credit, margin account, pledged asset line. Understand the interest rate, the borrowing limit, and the mechanics before you need the money. Having the facility available before you need it means future liquidity needs do not force you into selling at an inconvenient moment. And going forward, every time you consider selling an appreciating asset, ask the borrowing question first. Can I access the value I need without triggering a sale? In many cases, not all, but many, the answer is yes. And the long-term cost difference between the borrowing path and the selling path is almost always larger than it appears at the moment of decision. Let me bring you back to those two neighbors. The first one built for $100,000, the conventional way. Earned it, paid taxes on it, saved what was left. There is nothing wrong with what he built. But he worked inside a system that extracted 30% of his progress at every step. The second one built $4.2 million by understanding that the tax code rewards a specific set of behaviors buying assets that appreciate, holding them without selling, borrowing against them for income and reinvestment, and allowing the step up in basis to complete the cycle at death. She paid interest on loans. She did not pay income tax on the borrowing. She did not pay capital gains on the appreciation. And the wealth that transfers to her heirs will carry zero tax liability on the gains accumulated across her entire lifetime. Same country, same laws, same tax code. Two completely different relationships with it. The buy, borrow, die strategy is not available exclusively to billionaires. It scales down to anyone with appreciating assets and the discipline to not sell them. A $200,000 brokerage portfolio, a home with equity, a small investment property, any of these can become the starting point of a borrowing strategy that keeps your compounding intact and your tax liability minimal. The system rewards people who understand it. You now understand it. If this channel is giving you the kind of specific, honest, mechanically clear financial thinking that changes how you actually make decisions, consider subscribing. This is what every video here is built to deliver. Buy, borrow, die. 3 words, 1 framework, a completely different financial trajectory. I'm Zik. I'll see you in the next one.